I was nearly going to say good morning then. No, it's your afternoon. It's my morning. So good afternoon, leaders. Hi, Alice. Good afternoon to you too. I hope you're having a lovely day so far. My name's Marie Davidson, and I am lucky to get to spend this little bit of time with you today. I haven't been able to do it in person today. I'm very sorry about that. I'm in Coffs Harbour in New South Wales. I'm attending a good friend's wedding today. So I thought I'll get up this morning, I'll record this little contribution to the day today for you, and Alice will be able to just press play at different times. Alice might press pause, so stay handy there, Alice. Stay close to the buttons there so that you can look after the flow of things this next little while. What am I talking to you about today? I'm talking to you about communication skills for a leader. The sorts of things that would be important in helping you to connect with people, to inspire people to follow you, and to influence other people towards a project, towards things that you might like to change in the community. And I'm going to start off today with one of the communication skills or communication commitments that I think is really important for every opportunity that I have to collaborate with others. I always like to acknowledge that I am on Aboriginal land. I always like to acknowledge their elders, past, present, emerging, and to pay my respects to Aboriginal people and to appreciate the contribution that Aboriginal culture has made in my life. And today I would like to acknowledge that I am on Gumbaynggirr country. So the area around Grafton and Coffs Harbour is the land of the traditional owners called the Gumbaynggirr people. And I know that you're in Kaurna country too, so I just want to acknowledge all of the elders and the connections that Aboriginal people have with those lands that we're on today. So communication skills for leaders. I think the nutshell around this for me is to bring a deep awareness or intention to how you would like to communicate. And that starts with thinking about the intention for your communication. So I suppose it's about creating the space to be a think before talking person. So I call these people think to talk people. And so if you can just remember one thing from today, it is to have some intention around your communication. See if you can hold that. The other thing I'd like for you to think about today, and what we'll touch on, is emotional intelligence. And I really feel, I don't know if you would agree, but I think emotional intelligence for leaders is somewhat more important, just a little bit more important than your IQ, than your qualifications, than your technical ability around the things, you know, that you are highly skilled in, your profession, your vocation. I think that if we brought emotional intelligence to everything that we did, we have a much better chance of making true connections with people, of resolving conflict when it occurs, and of helping people, I think, to get to know who we are and what we're on about. So there's that opportunity to build influence again. And I really think emotional intelligence has a lot to do with that. You might even wrap that up into your social skills. Some people think of all of that as social skills, so very important if you want to be an influencer, if you want to inspire others. So today I'm going to talk about those few things: communication skills for leaders, the importance of emotional intelligence, being an influencer, thinking about different communication styles. We're all so different when it comes to communication, aren't we? We're all so different. So just reminding ourselves that we're like this. Not everybody's the same as us when it comes to communicating. So making room for different communication styles and better conversations. This is an area that I would really like to be good at, better conversations, you know, being able to chat with people, you know, the small talk that it might take to get into a good conversation. There's actually some structure to it, and there's some tips that we might share that could be useful for you as you go into having many conversations through this program and many conversations in the community about things that you want to make happen. So better conversations at the end of our time together. I'm going to show you my PowerPoint slide. Now, whatever screen you're viewing this on, it might be a little hard to see, but I'll talk through it. And you're, of course, getting a copy of these PowerPoint slides as well to support your learning. Now, this is Maya Angelou. You might know of Maya. She's an American poet, an author, civil rights activist, no longer with us, but she said something that I've always really connected with. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So a lot of the success around us as leaders in our community is how we can make people feel, the connections we can make, and how they might remember us as someone that they would like to be in the room with again. Yeah, so there's your starting point for success right there. Thanks, Maya. Amazing woman, if you want to have a look into her life, and many quotes too. She did share many quotes on her leadership journey. So how we make people feel, our best opportunity is through how we communicate. And I might be talking about high-level interpersonal communication skills here. Okay, so it's not how well you write a letter or an email, more about the interpersonal communication skills that you would have. And really, here's a really good list of the sorts of skills that you might want to focus on your journey, and you might already be strengthening through your opportunities at work and in the community already. But without starting anywhere in particular, I do think today we have a chance to think about the art of making conversation. How good are we and how comfortable and confident are we at that? Using and recognising body language. What do they say? How much of what we communicate actually comes out of our body? Non-verbals? I think they say it's about 75% of what we communicate. So we want to be really intentional about the body language that we choose there, all the non-verbal all the non-verbal communication that's coming out of us, and sometimes unconsciously. Oops, what are you saying to people? The ability to introduce yourself with impact. How are you going with this? Do you get a second chance to make a first impression? Not usually. So introducing yourself with impact is a really great skill as well. Thinking about all those opportunities that you have. I don't know about you, but in my career, I've been to many, many meetings. And the first thing that they do, or, training workshops, the first thing that they sometimes do is they whip around the room and you get to introduce yourself. And this is an example about where being intentional can leave an impression, can create your opportunity for influencing as soon as you introduce yourself. And I know that you will have been asked to have a look at the Simon Sinek video about starts with a why. It starts with why you do what you do is the most powerful thing about communicating your passion. And so this is a very practical way that you can bring this to your opportunity to introduce yourself. So when I get onto the influencing part, I'm going to try and remember to talk to you about that again. Your ability to be a connector, your ability to bring people and connect them with other people and say, oh, you're interested in that. I should introduce you to my colleague, or I should introduce you to my friend who's also into that, who may have some information, that could be useful for you. So being that person who can connect others, being inclusive, I suppose that means. Your ability to network, so your ability to think intentionally about who are the people that I might need to surround myself with in order to support my learning journey, in order to support my passion projects, in order to, start a conversation, whatever your intention is. Your ability to build networks and bring the key stakeholders together is very important skill for you. Even contributing effectively in meetings. I mean, how many meetings do you attend where you think, there's no purpose to this meeting, or there's no decision in this meeting, or there was no value for the 2.5 hours I just spent in that meeting? So thinking about ways that you, as a participant in a meeting, can make a contribution, but also how you can invite others to make contributions as well. So it's showing leadership in a meeting can help you to have more meetings that are purposeful. That's what I would like in my life. What about you? And maintaining records of your contacts. You might think, this is not important, and certainly we all have devices, and some of us are using apps to be able to maintain records of our contacts. But being able to, I think the value of this is not only being able to know sort of how you're going with building your networks, but it's being able to reconnect with people in a meaningful way. So if you've got a record that you met Alice at a particular meeting in the community, when you see Alice again or when you reconnect with Alice, you can have, you know, in your memory, oh, this is what I did with Alice, this is what we talked about, this is what she was about, and it just helps with that interpersonal communication there. So think of this as a checklist. It's by no means exhaustive, but I think it's a helpful checklist for reminding ourselves about the high-level interpersonal skills that we bring to our opportunity to lead. Right? So think on how you're going there and maybe make some actions around the sorts of things that you might like to do to strengthen these aspects of your communication. Now, the emotionally intelligent leader, Daniel Goleman, is a person you've already heard about. And what we would, you've already heard about him this morning, I think, with Alice in discussion around the different leadership styles that he presents in his model. He's done a lot of work on emotional intelligence in the workplace and the impact of emotional intelligence on leadership and people's abilities to rise up in the ranks and to improve and to inspire people around them. And he has a model of emotional intelligence. There are many, but Goleman is thought of as being the granddaddy of emotional intelligence. He wrote the first book about it. There are many videos and things online that you can learn about his approach to emotional intelligence. But the next slide that I show you is his model explained, if you like. And I like it. You know, he would say that there are 4 sort of skills in the emotional intelligence skill set. So let's have a little look. I hope you're taking some notes. And at any time, if you would like Alice to press pause, that's the beauty of a recording. All right, here it is. Now it looks a little bit messy, but let me break this down for you. I'm just going to move my video out of the way so that my face is not blocking the important words here. So 4 elements of emotional intelligence according to Goleman. The first one of them is self-awareness. So the ability to recognise, understand and regulate your own emotions and the effect of your emotions on other people. So this is having a deep awareness of the impact of your words and actions on others. And therefore, rewinding and thinking, hang on, what is my intention? What do I want the impact of my words and actions to be on this other person? Instead of, some of us have this default reaction in certain situations and we forget to think before talking and out it comes, okay? A lot of that happens in our brain, so you can forgive yourself. You know, your brain is trying to help you out in many, many ways. And one of them is, you know, that fight, flight, freeze response, which is still there, even though we're not being chased by lions and tigers, you know, anymore. That response is still there. So having an awareness, being able to recognise, understand and regulate your own emotions, right? So being able to say, what's happening to me right now? Is this useful and helpful for me right now in this situation? Could a different emotion be more helpful? Because you're not your emotions, right? Emotions come and emotions go, but it does take self-awareness. Let's talk about self-management, the ability to control or redirect emotions and moods. So this again linking with, now that I'm aware of how these emotions are affecting me, what strategies can I employ now to help me move to a better mood, to have a better attitude about this, to maybe challenge my usual thoughts, pathways, ways of thinking and doing that are developing in my brain. All right, so being in control of our emotions. And this involves suspending judgment and thinking before acting, right? Easy, right? No, very, very hard. But bringing strategies to creating the space. So there may be an activating event there, or there's that person, right? They're doing something that gets an emotional reaction out of you. Being able to suspend judgment and think on, this is what I'm observing, but what else might be going on there? Right? I have my own unique lens on the world, my own unique perspective on the world, and it's being tried and tested and developed over many, many, many years. But that's my unique perspective, and sometimes I have to challenge, what is it that I'm seeing there? What is that behaviour all about? What else could be going on apart from my truth? Could there be another truth? All right, so suspending judgment and thinking about that before acting. Very, very high level emotional intelligence skill there. What about social awareness? It's the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people. Now, it's being able to read emotions on people's faces, and sometimes people mask emotions, don't they? So it's even harder to read, but there might be cues and signals in people's body language that you'll be able to respond to. It might indicate that person has an unmet need and they're not necessarily able to describe it or explain it clearly, but it's coming through in the way that they're communicating. And you'd be able to pick up on that if you had some social awareness. It's also about being able to read the room, you know, the emotional economy of the room, if you like, and saying, oh, this room seems excited, or this room seems like, you know, they're a bit worried about something, or this, you know, you might think of your team meeting or your project team meeting, and you might think, oh, you know, people look a little bit kind of deflated and tired. And then when you've been able to read the room like that, you're able to bring what the room might need from you in terms of emotions. So that's about your ability to affect the emotional economy in the room. So if you think it's a bit down or on the negative side, what are you going to bring? Well, I'm going to bring my positivity. I'm going to bring my energy to this meeting to change the equation, the emotional equation, the economy in the room. All right, so that's important, because you can actually have an impact on how people are feeling, just like you can have an impact on how you're feeling, you know, by bringing a smile or having a laugh or talking to a friend or reminding yourself about what's the emotion that would be most helpful for me right now. You can actually do that for a group of people as well. Have you heard Alice laugh yet? That's what I mean about that emotional contagion. Whenever I hear Alice laugh, it just makes me feel happy and good inside, because it's such a joyful laugh. Now, you're going to be listening for that laugh now, and I hope it has the same impact on you. All right, and the last one here is your social skills. Can you manage relationships? Can you build networks? Can you engage people and build rapport? And sometimes we need to be able to do this quite swiftly, don't we? All right, so I'll say to you here, the universal symbol for I would like to be friends with you is a smile. All right, so what's your face got on it? Has it got a smile on it? Because if you are going to connect with people successfully, you are going to have to bring things like a smile and eye contact in most cases. I'll put a little asterisk there and I'll say in most cases, because some people don't like direct eye contact right up front. But generally a smile and open positive body language. So look around the room now and have a look at the body language on people. So we have this resting position. I know you've heard about this. This resting position could be a face which has not got much on it. It could be sitting with the arms folded. It could be leaning back in the chair, or your resting position might be leaning forward in the chair, but it all says something, okay? And it all is out there, and it's how you're connecting with people. They're seeing that, they're reading that, okay? So managing relationships, building networks is a lot about what am I intending to bring to this social opportunity, and then bringing it all, right? Words and your actions and your non-verbals, and your ability to find common ground. So looking for ways that you can connect rather than debate, connect and understand rather than challenge in the first instance. And I'm talking here about that initial opportunity to build rapport with people. So if you're curious and you're questioning and you're listening and you're clarifying rather than disagreeing, putting your opinion out, showing your judgment on certain things, you can more easily build rapport with people and engage them, bring them to you, instead of people standing there and thinking, God, I've got to get away from this person. You know, this, or I'm not feeling good energy from this person. So be a go-to person rather than a run away from person. Do you know those run away from people? Oh, you might be in a training workshop and you're sort of sitting down and you're thinking, oh no, they're going to come and sit next to me. Oh God, I don't want to sit next to that person. That's those people I'm talking about, right? So they're run away from people rather than go-to people. And you need to be a go-to person if you're going to be a great leader, because you need to be able to bring people around. You know, you need a lot of support to get the sorts of things done that you'd like to get done in this community. So there you go. There's a bit of a breakdown of Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence framework. The 4 elements to your emotional intelligence skill set there that you'll be able to work on. All right. So I encourage you to have a think about whether you are self-aware, whether you do have this ability to manage and regulate your emotions, whether you are aware of other people and how you impact on other people, and how you're using your social skills to be a person who people will want to be around and want to support. Okay, so there we go. Thanks, Daniel Goleman. That's great, isn't it? I like that one. There's plenty of others that you could look up, but this one, nice and easy to follow, I think. Now, are you a people person? Is it important to be a people person? Well, if you've just listened to anything that I've said about Daniel Goleman and emotional intelligence, yes, it is important to be a people person. And you might not think you're naturally a people person, and that might just indicate that there are some opportunities for you to improve this. And I'm going to say something, you're going to think I'm horrible, but I'm not there for you to give me the evil glare, but I'm going to say sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. Sometimes you have to intentionally bring a persona, right? That means the smile and the body language and, hi, how are you going? I'm very happy to be here, even though you're not. You have to bring that in order to do all the things that you know you need to do about building rapport and engagement with people, okay? And what starts to happen after a while, those of you that have had a look at neuroscience and mirror neurons and neuroplasticity and all those things there that are really interesting, is if you bring it, if you fake it, you will start to feel it. It will start to become a genuine feeling, an emotion that you have. So that's quite amazing that you could be in control of that like that. If you're feeling down, if I'm feeling down, I sometimes call a friend I know is going to give me a laugh because I know that that makes me feel better. So what if I could just start laughing myself? What if I could watch something that made me laugh and start laughing myself? Would I be able to get myself out of my funk? Yes, most cases. Most cases, all right? So your emotions are also contagious towards yourself as well. So I like this word charisma. I think it's a bit of an old-fashioned word. When was the last time you heard about charisma? Well, I looked this up because I like it and I thought, oh, I wonder if I have charisma. And what I found, just stop sharing for a minute there and look at you. What I found is that charisma is something that I really like and appreciate in other people, right? But it's this feeling that you have more than being able to say what it is, right? So it's a feeling that you have. When someone's got charisma, they sort of give you a feeling. I wonder if you've ever been in a room with someone like that. This morning when you did leaders you admire, maybe there was someone on that list there that you think has charisma. I always thought that Barack Obama, I still think Barack Obama has charisma in spades. So I looked it up and I found that charisma is a combo of 3 things in equal measure. 1 is warmth. Right, so you just feel warmth from this person. Is confidence. You go, oh, look at them, they're very certain of themselves, right? They look confident, they appear confident, all those behaviours there. And 3, this might surprise you, is power. Now, I don't think of power as being a negative thing. I think of power as people's ability to influence others. So if you think of power like that. So a person with charisma, a person who's probably going to have the best ability to influence other people, has warmth, confidence, and power. It could be personal power, or it could be power by note of their position or rank, you know, in the workplace or in the community or whatever. No? But I think let's think of someone in our community who does have power. I might think now about the mayor. Don't know if you've met the mayor, Chris Hanna, but let's think on him and charisma. He's got power by note of his leadership role in the community, right? So that's one. When you're with Chris Hanna, you will feel warmth. Like, he's great for a chat. He maintains eye contact. You know, he'll be able to talk about things he thinks are connecting and interesting for you. All right. And I tell you what, when he's got his regalia on, all that, you know, that fur, looking like the king, he looks very confident. I've seen him out of his regalia too on a panel where he was interviewing some newly arrived migrants, and you know, he looked really relaxed and confident, and he was very warm with the guests as well. So I used to use Chris Hanna as someone you might know as an example, whether you like him or don't like him, or you're politically aligned with him or not, doesn't matter. I'm just breaking it down in terms of what I think on charisma. All right, so it's not like this person walks in the room and bang, everybody knows that person's here, but no, they can kind of work a room. They use their charisma to do that. And they build influence as a result of that, because people are thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind spending a bit more time with that person, or I wouldn't mind supporting what they're on about. So think about charisma. Going back to my little slide here, the other thing to think about is when you want to make a first impression, bring an awareness to your intention, right? So if I want to influence people, I want to show leadership here, I want to walk away from this opportunity to collaborate with others or connect with others with this, right? Think about what your intention is for that social opportunity, even if it's a party, right? This is where you can probably practice. I'm going to a wedding today, and very soon, after I've done my nails and my hair and all that there, I will set my intention for how do I want to show up at this party, right? It's raining here. I'm so sad for the bride because I know that she really wanted a beautiful sunny afternoon, but it's raining and it's going to be terribly soggy. So I'll probably end up wearing my Rossies with my frock. You know, it's really that wet. So what's my intention today? And I've already started thinking on my intention today is, regardless of how awful the weather is, it's all about making that bride feel like we are all having a good time. So what are the behaviours and actions that will help me to achieve my intention? Well, I've already sent my friend off to go and get some more firewood. Let's rock up with a trailer load of firewood, right? So we can all be warm. And what actions are going to help me when I get there? I am going to be smiling, even if the rain dampens my hair and that I get mud up my legs, and you can see it, you know, see mud on my legs with my frock, which won't be a great look. I will still be smiling and laughing, and I'm going to make other people smile and laugh as well. So what's your intention for the next meeting that you go to? What do you want to walk away with? What do you want other people to experience as a result of spending that time with you? Set your intention early, because that'll bring an awareness for behaviours and actions that will help you to achieve it. So this is where I'm going to ask Alice to pause the video, because I'd like you to reflect on, with the people on your table, the behaviours and actions that you've brought to your opportunity to connect with a room full of new people today. What is working for you? Did you set an intention? Even if you didn't, you still have a chance to set an intention now. What are the behaviours and actions that are helping you to make a great first impression? What are you bringing? Press pause now, Alice, and get people to write down a few things about the behaviours and actions that are helping them today to influence others and to make those great connections. What are they actually doing? Pause. Okay, welcome back. This feels weird to me at this end, but I hope it's working out for you. Welcome back, welcome back. Now, what we did there was we asked you about how do you make a first impression? How do you set your intention? And today, what behaviours and actions are helping you to achieve your opportunity to connect, your opportunity to network, your opportunity to get to know other people on a bit of a deeper level? But it's about the behaviours and actions. That's what we're getting you to focus on. So hopefully you've had a chance there to focus on what it takes. Right? This is the self-awareness that we're talking about and the social skills that we're talking about, bringing in attention to how we're going to build rapport and engagement with people. All right, next slide. Thanks for doing that. Now, let's have a think on the different types of communication. Now, if you were to get your phone out now and start Googling, in fact, you can get your phone out now and start Googling if you like, the phases of communication or stages of communication. Go on, get your phone out, it's okay. The stages of communication or phases of communication, and the one that you're looking for, the one that I'm hoping you will find, has things like encode and decode. So encode will be one of the phases and decode will be another of the phases. And what we know about communication basics, this is communication 101, is that communication is two-way, right? Now, so I'm technically, I'm communicating with you today, but it's not two-way, it's recorded. So it's not a real communication. But communication is two ways. There's a sender and there's a receiver. Today I'm the sender, you're the receiver. And there's lots and lots of things that happen between the sending and receiving that will make a difference for that communication, the quality of that communication. And some of you are looking up now going, oh, wow, there's actually a lot of steps in communication. Yes, there is. And the thing that you will see is it's a loop. Right? This is the thing that people sometimes forget, is that there is a sender. So here's my message is coming. You're receiving the message. And you know what? My communication with you hasn't finished until I get feedback back to say that it's been received and understood. Right? So I will not know about the quality of my communication with you today until I get some feedback to say it landed really well. People understood what you were talking about. People were engaged. And the feedback comes back to me and the communication is complete. Otherwise, I'm just throwing words out into the air and hoping that they land. Right, so the other thing that I'm thinking about as the sender is how I encode my message. My message today to you is about communication skills for leaders. Right? So I'm being very careful about the way that I encode my message, because what's going to happen when you receive it is you're going to have to decode it. You're going to have to do the work to make sense of what I'm communicating, and that's the decoding bit. And until you decode it, you can't actually take it into your brain and start to put it away and connect it with other things that you know, right? So very important in communication is that I encode my message in a way that helps you to understand it and unpack it. So the sorts of things that I'm doing to make sure I'm using the right kind of code is I'm choosing a pace that I think will be most helpful for processing information. I'm using language that I think will be most accessible and friendly for the group. I haven't met you, so I don't know. I've made some assumptions there. I'm speaking clearly, so I'm being careful with my pronunciation, my diction, my speed, and my pitch. Right? I'm trying to make it interesting and exciting, so I am trying to change the pitch of my voice to keep you engaged. So I'm being intentional about the way that I encode my messages so that when you receive them, you can decode them quite easily and make sense of the information as you receive the message. Right? And I will look forward to getting some feedback to say how it was received. Right? And that'll be our communication loop closed. The other thing that's important in communication is the mode You've often seen people make mistakes around choosing the mode of communication, haven't you? So this would be phone versus text, versus email, versus face-to-face, versus Zoom. I know. So we've got so many more choices now, haven't we, about how we communicate? But the mode of delivery of the message is so very important as well. Even things like whether you stand up to speak to people or you sit down to speak to people. There's no right or wrong, but thinking about the impact that you want to have and how you're coding up your message for impact, you know, for the receiver. Would standing be better? Would sitting be better? In a one-on-one communication or communication with a small group, I would say sitting is a better way of delivering that message. But where I have an opportunity to impact on a larger room of people, I think standing would be a better sort of a mode of delivery. So things to think about, all right? But do a little bit more learning about this, because how you encode, all the things that you layer on top of your communication, all those things we talked about there, makes a difference to how it's decoded and received, okay? So getting feedback at the end. Do you understand? Is that okay with you? Even getting a thumbs up or a nod or something that says the person has received the communication the way that you intended. Now, this slide here talks about the fact that everybody communicates and receives information differently in terms of how direct they communicate, so whether they use sort of less words or whether they use lots of words, how fast-paced they are. So what's the pace, the speed of their communication, how quickly are they able to talk and form thoughts and ideas and things like that and share them, and how open they are in relationships, so how much of themselves are they willing to sort of give away, or how reserved they might be. So that those two scales there indicate the quadrant that people might fit into, and you may see yourself in here. So the indirect, slow-paced person, like that might be like a chatty person, all right? Concerned with open relationships, concerned with building relationships, is the relator. Warm, friendly, slow and easy, shares their feelings, good listener, cooperative. That's Alice all over for me, right? So Alice, sorry to box you there, but I would say I really see you as a relator. The socialiser, open relationships, but more direct and fast-paced, all right? So there's a lot going on, there's a lot being said, all right? So relationships are important, strong feelings of personal worth. They're fast-paced, enthusiastic, persuasive, probably high energy, not afraid of taking even social risks, okay? Communication risks. And I've met people like that in all of my work with Aboriginal groups, and often there'll be a leader in the room and they'll say things like, hey, shut up and listen, you mob. And I think, oh my goodness, I would never say that. But that's one of those communication risks that that person is prepared to take. They are the socialiser. They're the person who's aware of what all the people are doing, okay? And can make things happen, yeah, in the way they communicate, I mean, yeah. Here's the director, right? So an emphasis on results. These are direct and fast-paced kind of communication style, but more reserved in terms of making connections, emotional connections with people in the team or the organisation and the group, okay? So they're little concerned for relationships, more concerned with getting things done, right? Tasks. They don't share their feelings all that easily. They might be seen as dominating. So they're fast-paced and decisive. So they might be the kind of person in a meeting that says, all right, that's enough talking now. Let's just get on with making a decision. You see that? So not being totally aware of the emotions in the room, being more concerned with, hey, come on, we've spent enough time here now. Let's move to a decision. Okay, so that could work in some situations, not in others. And then here's the thinker. This is a reflective type of person. They're slow and they're cautious. They're thinking about what's the job we have to get done. Good at following direction, also good at working well alone. So this person, if you've got a meeting or something where you've got a time pressure and we have to make a decision quickly, this person might respond to that in, hang on, no, we haven't had enough discussion. if we're going to get X done, we really need to think about A, B, C, D, E, and F, and we need time to have a think on those, right? So we'll need a few more meetings. So that's the kind of communication you might get out of a thinker, right? But whenever you go into a room with people, look at the table, look at the people around you on the table right now. There's people who will say, I think I'm there, I think I'm there, I think I'm there. So if you're going to be a great communicator and build influence with your interpersonal communication skills, you want to be thinking on the diversity of communication styles in the groups that you're working with. Because you'll have a default, and that's generally how you will behave. That'll generally be your actions. And you might be frustrated by the thinker, right? If you're the director, you might be frustrated by the relator and the socialiser. It's not all about, being friends and getting along and spending time eating cake. It's about making sure we use our time. So, you could find some tension or conflict with the other communication styles unless you're aware that it is diverse. Okay, so it's just one model. There's lots of models you can look at around communication styles. I quite like this one though, because this one, you might actually start to see some of these styles in the group. All right? So when you get to know people quite well on a deeper level, you'll be able to see these things, and you'll be able to ask yourself, what does this person need from me for this communication to go well? Okay, what does this group need from me for this opportunity to collaborate to go well? Okay, so that's the value of thinking on the different sorts of communication styles, right? And of course, there are then those people who are very assertive. I'd love to be one of those people, wouldn't you? There are those people that you might meet that are aggressive in their communication style. All right, so they kind of go, they step over people, they don't care about people's emotions in the situation. There are people who are passive. They don't talk a hell of a lot in meetings and groups and things like that. So it's not really helpful when you're collaborating if someone's quite passive, just as it's not helpful if someone's quite aggressive. And my least favourite, the passive-aggressive, what's that all about? A passive-aggressive communication is really not saying anything. It's kind of trying to say something, but it's really missing. All right? So there's a tone to passive-aggressive, which leaves the receiver thinking, hang on, something's not right. But it's so unclear, that kind of communication is just sort of miss. Okay, and people sometimes see that as conflict and they don't really want to go there. So if you're being passive-aggressive, you can often find that you're not going to get your needs met until you move into the more of the assertive kind of communication. Okay, which is what we're all aspiring to, isn't it? Clear and direct and clearly stating what our needs are and what we would like to see happen and being concerned for the relationship on the other side of it. So yeah, bring it on. I'd love to be more assertive. Got any tips? We're working on that every day, aren't we? So keeping this moving, maybe Alice, you can facilitate at the end of this some more thinking on, or in another session, some more thinking on where people think that their communication style is. I'll make sure that people have got this as a handout to do some more thinking on this. It's only a model. It doesn't say you're this and no, therefore you can't be that. If you see yourself strongly in one of these quadrants, the effort that you'll make is to be a little bit more like the others when the situation requires it. Okay, so it's all about that flex, isn't it? It's the same with leadership styles. It's all about that flex. What does the situation require of me now? What kind of communication would work best with this person in the situation now? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I'm going to ask you directly, how are you going with conversation? Conversation. Is it a bit of a lost art? What are the sorts of things that are impacting on our conversation skills? Pause now, Alice, and get the group to have a think on what's happening to impact on our conversation skills. This should be fairly obvious. They're only going to need a couple of minutes to have a chat at the table. So turn me back on in about 2 or 3 minutes. What's happening to impact on The art of conversation. What are your thoughts on this? Have a discussion on your table. See you in 2 or 3 minutes. Welcome back. Welcome back. Yes, yes. What did you discover? The art of conversation. Now, this is where people really stand out. This is your best opportunity to build rapport and engagement and be one of those go-to people that people just love spending time with. All right, you're present, you're a good listener, all those things there that go into conversation. Now, I want to approach this in a couple of ways. One way is to think on a framework for a conversation. That could be good, that includes all those things I just said then. And then we're going to finish off this session with a video and discussion about tips for better conversation. So TED Talk. You like TED Talks? Yeah, we like TED Talks. Very good. So you get to watch a TED Talk and then you get to have a bit of a yarn with everyone about the sorts of things you'd like to do to improve your conversation skills. All right. So most of us really not comfortable with the small talk. I'm going to a wedding this afternoon. Most of the people at the wedding I might not know. I might know about a third of the people at the wedding, right? So I'm going to have to be on my game when it comes to starting conversations with people I don't know. So how do you do that? Well, when I used to go to parties when I was a bit younger and a little less confident, I used to go with questions. I know. I used to think up some questions about things I thought were interesting, and then I'd have some things that I could, bring in. Yeah, so I was doing a little bit of thinking beforehand, a little bit of practice beforehand. I don't have to do that so much anymore, but I do have to take this little framework with me because I don't want to be a conversation hogger, and I don't want to be the person in a conversation who's not present. Do you know those people that you're talking to someone and there's this like bright shiny thing, I can't maintain my eye. I'm listening to what's going on over there, which sounds more interesting. That sort of stuff. I don't want to be that person. And I don't want to be the person, my personal pet hate. I don't want to be the person who always talks about themselves. Oh yeah, me. Oh yeah, I. Oh yeah, when I did this and now I did that, and yeah, that happened to me too. No, I don't want to be that person. Right, so I don't like that in conversation, so I try not to be that person in conversation either. So I've had to work on this, and I'm sharing with you what I have found helpful. So let me share my screen. I've got this little cycle of a conversation, and I do know that this cycle is used by salespeople. And I'm not going to be that person either, but it is helpful to think of a way that you can keep a conversation going and flowing, right? Because that's often the hardest thing, is to get started and to keep it going. So the conversation cycle that I'm going to share with you here will help. But just know that this is exactly what the people that call you up at dinner time and want to sell you something, this is what they use as well, all right? So it's working for them. It's definitely going to work for me in my social scene, in my ability to connect and build rapport and engagement. Okay, this cycle here starts with inform. So the way that I remember this, because I use it all the time, the way that I remember this is ILA. I've got ILA in my head, ILA. That's my trigger for remembering this cycle, ILA. So if you write ILA down, okay, you'll be able to play. So the first thing in this conversation cycle, because I'm chatting all afternoon. I think I'm on. Not too much longer now. But the first thing is inform. Right? So this is where you're saying something. You're just saying something that you know. Okay? The second step is then to invite them in with a question. Right? Which is on the same topic. So you're telling them something. It might be, I've got one written down. I'll share with you in a minute. I'll just go through this first. Inform them, so tell them something. Invite them in to say something too. What do you think on this? Or what are your thoughts on that? Or have you ever done that too? Right? That stops you from being a conversation hog. Then listen to what they say, and this is where you practice being present. You practice your very best listening skills here. Right? I know you've heard about active listening, so try that there. So, oh, wow, you know, all that, and clarifying and reframing and really listening. Don't try to get out of the conversation or keep moving on to things you want to talk about. Stay there. Practice staying there by listening. The next important thing is acknowledge what you've just heard. So connect with what you just heard. This is, some people here would then go on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and they're really leading the conversation rather than staying in it, you know, rather than making connections with what's being said. They're thinking about, what am I going to say next? Okay, so acknowledge what you've just heard, reconnect, connect with what you've just heard, okay, with what you've just listened to. And then you can say something else, a new piece of information or something additional in the conversation. Oh, and I love live music so much. Last night I went to see a movie where a band played the soundtrack. Have you ever been to a movie where they played live music? Question, see? Then listen to what they say and then acknowledge what's saying, yeah, it's really different, isn't it? It's really different. And on you can go. You can go around a number of times. IILA, right? Inform, invite, listen, acknowledge. Here's my example. I'll say, Danielle, I just wanted to tell you about a great meeting that I attended the other night. It was all about new bike paths in the city of Marion. Inform. Is that something that you'd be interested in supporting? What are your thoughts on more bike paths in the city of Marion? Invite. Listen. They say what they say. Listen, listen, listen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Oh, next part, acknowledge. You sound really keen too. There's a meeting next week. Inform. Hear that? My new piece of information is they're having another meeting next week. Would you like to come with me? Invite. Hear that? Listen, she'll say, no, I'm too busy, but tell me what goes on. Or she might say, yeah, of course, can you pick me up? Da, 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 da. And then my last piece here is, well, that's really great. It's just going to be so good to have an ally because this is something that I'm really passionate about making happen, you know, near where I live. I'm really lots more bike paths near where I live. Thanks. It'll be good. All right. So that's the conversation cycle there. And I know you do it. I don't need to tell you how to have a conversation properly, but sometimes when we're trying to do better at things, such as improve our conversation skills or, you know, get started with conversations a bit more easily, it's helpful to have a framework and use it until it becomes natural. It'll feel awkward and weird first, but it'll become more natural if you have a practice. Speaking of having a practice, that's what I'd love you to do right now. I would love you to turn to the person next to you and practice having this little conversation. It might not go well, don't worry, it might be messy. But inform, invite, listen, acknowledge. Just have a go, right? You might need a minute's thinking time to maybe write some notes down. I wrote some notes down. It's helpful. So when you're learning something new, you know, break it down, write some notes down, and then turn to the person next to you and just see if you can use this to start a little conversation. See how it feels. Alice, you're going to pause me for about 5 minutes, I think. Would you do that? Pause me for 5 minutes, let people have a go, and then come back. Thank you. All right. Okay. That 5 minutes went very fast for me. What about you? Something to practice. All right, something to practice. If small talk, starting conversations, going to social scenes where you don't know everyone is challenging for you, something to practice. All right. What do you think is the most important part of this little conversation framework? Pardon? Didn't hear you? Listening. I think it's listening. Right? Listening and being present and staying in the conversation rather than thinking on, what am I going to say next? How do I make myself sound brilliant? Won't this person just ever stop talking so that I can say something? Right? So listening and staying in the conversation. And see if you can do 2 loops of the conversation too, right? That shows that you are interested. That shows people that you're present. And it's a feeling that they'll get, right? It's how you make people feel in conversations that makes a difference. Right? And if you're at a party and they're trying the hell to get away from you, that's not a great party for you. It's not great networking for you if that's what's happening. Okay. Now, almost one of my favourite TED Talks of all time. We've shared a few with you today that are also my favourites, but this one is really practical. And in a moment, Alice is going to press play on the TED Talk that's embedded in her PowerPoint. Hear me say that? It's my intention and it's all going to go very well. But let me tell you about Celeste Headlee. She is a bit like, so some people might know of Parkinson. Some people might know of Richard Fidler, who does conversations on the ABC. Some people might know about Jenny Brockie, or what's the new guy's name who's doing the Q&A these days, or even Waleed Ali on the project. All right? So she is an interviewer. So her job is to have great conversations. And she's sharing in this TED Talk some tips, top 10 tips for having better conversations. And what we'd love you to do is write down your favourite 2 or 3. I would like you to write them all down, of course, because they're really good things to remember. See if while you're listening you can write down the 10. But then, circle the 2 that really resonate with you. And Alice will facilitate a discussion with the room around which of these tips you think could be most impactful in the way that you have conversations with people, in the way that you build rapport and engagement and increase your influence as a leader. All right, so I'm very excited for you to be on this journey. The things to do from today's workshop is to talk with other people about what you've learnt. All right, so talk with others. It's a great way of learning and getting all those thoughts into your brain, into your long-term memory, to hold them. Is to develop some actions for yourself, some things that you'll be able to do to improve some of the gaps or some of the areas where you don't feel strong. If you have a look back at the communication skills for leaders and things we've talked about today, set some goals for yourself around that. So bring an intention to it. That's your best chance of mastering something. And most importantly, with new things that we're learning, is have a go, practice. It's the only way. It's the only way to master anything, is to be willing to go through the awkward, icky, stretching, challenging part of learning. Okay, so if you heard anything today, you thought, oh, that sounds pretty interesting, go and talk to someone else about it, go and watch some more TED Talks, read a book, and have a go at implementing it in practice. Really, really powerful. Okay, so I hope on this journey I get to talk to you again. I'm loving that Alice is leading this for you and that she is generously inviting me to play a small part. And I know from other years of being involved in the leadership program that it can have an impact in people's lives and what they are able to do in their community to make it a great place to live. So I'm very excited for that for you. Have a lovely rest of the day. Thanks for playing. Thanks for listening. Take care. Press stop now, please.